Well, I am Tina Kadish. Welcome back to the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. This is a podcast where we bring aspiring women entrepreneurs, mostly women entrepreneurs who have already done it. They're women that are successful, they're in their business, and they have some stories to share. And today, I'm honored to have Sabrina Morris. She's also known as the lifestyle promoter. She's an entrepreneur known as a lifestyle promoter, and she's a nomad enjoying exploring the world. And she's an independent contractor for multiple companies, and they help those who want more than the status quo. She has spent over 10 years as a specialized consulting solving problems for corporate executives, and she is a problem solver, and she has applied her experience as an enterprise architect across all aspects of business. Her background as a strategic business analyst, change strategist, systems architect, and software designer have impacted her effectiveness as a problem solver. And she has leveraged the wisdom of her mother, who was a successful real estate investor and entrepreneur. So I'm honored to have her because she's a passionate problem solver, and she wants to help those who want more than the status quo, those who are looking to make a unique shift in their lives and desire a lifestyle transformation. Welcome, Sabrina, because when I read the word desire a lifestyle transformation, who doesn't want transformation? Because I feel that a lot of us are just surviving. We're not thriving. We're not really being transformed. So tell us a little bit more. How did you become a lifestyle promoter, and you're a nomad, which means you're traveling the world?
Yes, well, what the kickoff for traveling the world, and thank you for having me today. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you, Tina, for doing all of the work you do to
Thank
touch
you.
lives that you touch. Because a lot of times, those who put on the podcast and do all the work, they don't get recognized for what they do. And I want to applaud you, and I'm sure your audience does as well, and they
Well, thank
appreciate.
you, Sabrina. I love it. I love it. So we're going to have a great conversation today. What I love about my podcast is that I like to have organic conversations. See where it takes us, and learning more about you and how did you get to where you are. Because the listeners of this podcast are women that are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. They might be new entrepreneurs as well. And we'd like to share stories of our guests and how did they do it. So tell
Well,
us.
I have to give a lot of applaud to the fact that God gave me the mother I did.
Mm,
When I was even in middle school, and my mother would do everything equal between my brother and I. So she would take us to the type of quote unquote Robert Kiyosaki classes
oh my God, I love it.
outside of the schoolroom. There were other people other than Robert Kiyosaki. I don't think Robert Kiyosaki was doing what he was doing then, or maybe he was. And mother instilled that go and seek information
Mm,
at an early age because there are many avenues to get information other than in the classroom. You can
yes,
go sit under the tutelage of someone who's already making millions or building their dream house from investing in the stock market or and train from those who've done it.
that's
And
right.
that's one of the things because she instilled that when I was working for corporate America, I started down this path because when you report into the upper echelons of corporate America, and I'm going to stress America, because European companies, as many of you know, are different. They take siestas in the middle of the day.
I know. I know. What a lifestyle. Talk about a lifestyle, because I was in Europe 3 years ago, and they really live life
Yes,
versus
yes,
Americans.
yes, who work, and then I'm going to live so I can work, versus to your point, Tina, Europeans say, oh, I'm going to work so I can live my life.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the goal is to first, you have to be aware. So many of us are in the grind that we're not aware, although hints are given,
Mm,
whether through your spouse saying, when are you going to spend more time with me? Maybe their love language is quality time, and that love language has not been hitting. And you're
That's right.
wondering, what's going on? Well, there are hints out there. Or maybe you have a niece or nephew that says, Auntie or Uncle, you missed my event. Why? Well, you had a job obligation. Instead of making those memories with your family and friends your priority, because we're
Yes.
not going to have our family forever.
No, no.
We're not, they are going to transition. And I would talk to my mother about this because we were very close. And I would talk to her and get her advice and wisdom on how to deal with your friend, meaning my mother, transitioning before me, because her mother had already transitioned in her life at a very
Okay.
early age.
Okay.
And she said those memories, creating those memories are what we have to
Hmm.
get us through the tough times. And if you're too busy working in the grind and you're missing and not creating those memories, I would say don't do that.
And I love that you're saying this because as a former corporate America woman,
Mhm.
it was work, 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 and always so busy and stressed out. There were days that I wouldn't even take a lunch outside of the office. I would eat at my desk. For
Right,
what? For what?
right.
And we have to ask ourselves, a lot of times we put so much of our identity in our jobs. We do not think of having a plan B and a plan C because your job will not last forever. There is that false sense of security.
Mhm.
They will let you go in a heartbeat. I was one of them. I was let go suddenly, laid off. And that's when I began my journey to figure out what I wanted to do. But I think that the message here today is for the audience is don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm.
And
You know,
yeah,
you have a good point, especially with the companies. They really don't. I remember as an independent contractor, I remember taking a project where I went in on the first day. And that first day, because the colonel got mad at some other contractor from some other company, he decided to fire every contractor in the building.
wow, wow.
Except me. He actually said, well, let me keep Sabrina because she got the answer to the question I need. You know what I told him? I said, this is going to be your lesson opportunity. Number one, control your emotions. Number two, the answer is no, I'm going to leave and go on vacation.
Good for
This
you.
will give you an opportunity to think about the decisions you make before you allow your emotions to take over.
That's right. That's right. Yes, I
That
love
was the dumbest thing. I'm like, just because you can, that doesn't mean you should. Think
that's
first.
that's right. Think first. You're right. You're
Right.
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 You're right. You're right. So your background, I mean, you are a problem solver. You've been a strategic type of person, a change strategist, and you were always an independent contractor?
I've always, sometimes I would work as a physical in the E quadrant. We were going to talk about the different quadrants to
Yes,
generate money because this is something everyone should be aware of. And this is Robert Kiyosaki's,
yes.
quadrant.
The four quadrants. Yes,
Yes, the four quadrant. And when you are working for someone else, generating income for them, and you're literally serving one person a day, and that's
yes,
that employer,
yep,
you're in the E quadrant.
yes.
Then there is the S quadrant, the self-employed quadrant, whereby if you don't show up, the work doesn't get done. And Sabrina likes to say, no, no, no. Start building your team, even if it's through VAs or virtual assistants,
I
and
agree.
start piecing off that workload so that you don't become the dependent or I
The
call it,
doer, the doer.
right, the doer. And then if everybody needs something, they're waiting on you. You don't want that. You want,
Exactly.
and then when you look at the B quadrant, employees work for those who are big business.
Yes.
You will. well, I tell everybody, you'll desire, or your goal is, or it should be, or I'm going to encourage you to shift into the B quadrant, because now you have more authority and you can bless your team more
Yes,
because you're controlling the company, and you can say, oh, I'm going to make sure everybody takes their vacation, and I'm going to write it into their evaluations that if they don't take their vacation, they get a ding.
exactly. I love that. I love that model because, and you can create you design your life, you can design your business the way you want to. And I love yeah, I always was fascinated by those four quadrants because being an employee, you will never make the money that you could make as a business owner, as being your own, or being an investor. That's a whole nother conversation is being an
Yes,
investor. All right, you
yes.
can make money there. But we work all our life and we wait to retire and you make a little bit of money. And yeah, some people say, well, it's comfortable because here's the thing, not everybody can be an entrepreneur. Some people want a job and they want to depend on that paycheck. That wasn't me. And I'm
Mhm.
glad I got laid off because had I not been laid off, I probably could have been still a worker bee instead of being an entrepreneur. But I thank God that I was laid off because I wouldn't have started my journey of trying to figure out what I wanted. And I realized I wanted freedom. I wanted flexibility. I didn't want someone to tell me every day what time to come in, what time to leave, when I should take my lunchtime, when I should take my vacation.
Mhm.
And I can't take my vacation if somebody else is taking it. So I have to go along with that. So yeah, there's too much control.
And sometimes they even tell you when to go to the bathroom and how often you can go.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
sad.
Exactly. Very sad. Very sad. So how did you make the so because today you are a business owner, you have a team of people?
Yes, I have a team of VAs that I work with.
Good.
And also, depending on what project, there's so many. Okay, so I know you and I are talking about, there's some people that are probably out there going, okay, that sounds all great, Tina and Sabrina. Yeah, but how do you start to get the mind shift? How do you start to get out? What do you do? And this is where my mother's wisdom would come in. When you so we work the 9 to 5, right? And then
Yep.
for family, you want to carve out family time as well. And I would even sit down with your family and have a conversation and let them know that you're going to start dedicating some of your time towards, and these are some of the ideas, and get them to buy in. And the reason why I say that is because let's say you're in a class or you're on a Zoom and you're learning a new skill set, and we'll talk about that in a minute because I know I'm
Yeah.
jumping
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah. Go ahead. Go
but
ahead.
you're spending time and you're on the Zoom call learning something, or you're driving to a location to take one of those classes I was talking about that's outside of your traditional education system.
Hmm.
Your family may be, if they buy in on what you're doing for your transition, then they could be like, Mom, don't be late, or I won't bother you in the next hour, or have them help you and then
Good.
help them see the vision of the transformation, meaning you'll have more time together. I would also say start with your balance sheet. In college, they teach us how to do balance sheet and accounting, right? But they
Hmm.
have the mindset that you do them for these businesses. And the cool thing about doing the cash flow game, which is also out of Robert Kiyosaki's realm, I used to host Cash Flow 101 and 202 as well. And I
Nice.
used to write simulations for companies.
Oh, wow.
The cash flow game is nothing but an amazing simulation,
Mm.
and you can simulate the type of balance sheet that you want in your life. Okay. Now, I know this is a painful experience, audience, for some of you that don't want to look at your balance sheet. You're like, oh, I don't want to look at a liability. What's a liability? Remind me what a liability is.
Hmm.
And that's very That's one of the things I did. And I kept that balance sheet in. I mean, I'd go down to the coffee shop for a break and I'd pull up the balance sheet and I'd say, okay, how can we get more cash flow? Or how can we cut some of these liabilities? And how
Yes.
can we? That's always, I'm always thinking, okay, the cash flow is not where it should be. What do we need to be doing to get the numbers right?
That's right. That's right.
Or you,
What I was going to say is, yes, what I was going to say is I always recommend to my women when I'm coaching is what you're describing is preparing that exit strategy,
yes,
having a plan, because I never recommend someone just jumping in and starting a business. It's having a plan. You are already talking about sharing with your family, looking at your finances, cutting out the expenses so that you could prepare yourself. I always tell my clients to have an emergency fund, create an emergency fund, create that cushion that when you are no longer in your job and you're working your business, you have a cushion to have while you're working your business. So I love that you have this system because it's a system in
right.
place. Thank you for sharing that. I love it.
Well, and when you have because that's what my mother would always say. She would say you always want 6 months to a year of expenses
Yes. Yes.
somewhere. And then I'm going to take it to another level and say, what about having cash flow every month to cover those expenses?
Expenses. Yes.
And then you say, if you think about that on a regular, while you're in the car commuting, don't let the traffic disturb. No, I know it'll bother you
Yep.
from time to time, but stay focused and say,
Yep.
how can I? And I'll say, okay, guys, yes, you feel like it might be a pie in the sky dream, but a lot of times dreams become a reality. I
Yes.
took a shot behind me
Mm.
one of
I
the
know.
days where I could just go up in the mountains and drive. Why?
Beautiful.
Because I decided to I needed to breathe. That's some good air up there.
Yeah. I
Air.
love
You
it. I love it.
want to think, and I stood right on this rock right here to think. I say that to say find your thinking place. Find a place where you can
Mm.
go. It may not you don't have to spend a lot of money, just some gas.
Yeah.
Or go to your favorite park. Sit there and
Yes.
watch doggies run or while you walk your dog. And I'd say start with what you enjoy. A lot of times God's already given us our answer. It's right there in front of our face.
Right. Right.
What do you like to do? Do you like to draw? Do you like to paint? Do you like to dance? What do you enjoy? Or did you take this job that you have because you just needed some money when you really wanted to do something else and now you're pigeonholed?
Right. I love it. I love that, Sabrina. These are all great things, and I wish we had more time to like get into more depth. But what I want to, recap here as we're going to be coming to a close soon is how you emphasize the importance of the plan,
Mm-hmm.
your exit strategy. Also, though, I love when you said, talk about what do you enjoy doing? What do you want to do? Have a vision,
Mm-hmm.
because before, you say, well, I don't know what I want to do, but what is your desire? What do you desire? Create a visual of it. What do you want to bring into your life? And you will manifest it. If you want to create a business, but have a vision. What does it look like? What does that lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
look like? And Sabrina, I love the fact that you are the lifestyle promoter because you can help clients create that lifestyle. Is that correct? Like, tell me a little bit about what are some services you offer people if somebody comes to you and they want more support in creating the lifestyle that they desire.
Well, one thing we do is we have a complimentary unpack your bucket list session, and
Nice.
you can hit that number, the one that
Yes.
because I have my other glasses on,
Yes,
but
I
it's
see that.
right on our. If you text the word unpack to me, or you could just text me on that number and say,
Okay.
hey. I want to play a cash flow game. Do you know where some are, or are you? So I'll do that as my, I call it community service. I'll
Okay.
hold cash flow game from time to time.
Okay.
help people that way. So
Okay.
unpacking your bucket list session, we learn more about your travel style, how you like to travel, and we just have a conversation and discover how we can help. Have a lot of referrals in the network, how to start building your network.
Right. Okay. Good. No, I love that. So, because I will have all the information in the podcast, the show notes. So
Okay.
everybody, all the listeners here will have that information. So yeah, so definitely we'll have that. So let me ask you, Sabrina, as we're coming to a close, what would you suggest? Someone coming in and they're thinking about wanting to start a business, they're looking, they want more. What would you recommend are two things that they should do?
Number one that I didn't do that I should have is start building your network.
Okay.
If you text me at that number, I have different networking events. And then for those who say, I still don't know what to do, start networking
Mm,
because Tina knows this. There's a lot of people in the room with businesses that they're looking for additional team members. I
mhm.
know one lady, that's all she does is help people with different businesses. And I can refer, she runs a networking organization. So start, if you don't have a clue as to what to do, start building your network
That's what
because
I did. That's what I did when I was laid off. I started to network, and that's how I was introduced to a tool, the passion tests, helping women find their passions. And it started through networking. And had I not networked, I wouldn't have known about the tool and getting certified with that tool as well. So what is the other thing you said? So first, find a network. What was the second
the
tip?
second is focus on that balance sheet so that
Okay,
you won't have to be like, oh, what am I going to do financially?
good.
Whether you take Tina and my mother's advice and set that 2 years up because it is a mental shift. You're not getting that paycheck every 2 weeks, every month, every week. It
Right.
is totally different. And you serve many people. So if you look at all those trees behind me,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's your goal is to serve as many people as possible when you make that shift.
Yes, that is a great tip. I love that. So Sabrina, what is coming to a close right now? And I so appreciate you coming on today for the podcast. And so tell me what any words of wisdom as we wrap up.
I always say, okay, I did write a note. I said, don't be your own resistance.
Mm,
Don't be your own resistance. And that's what we covered in the very first book that I co authored. If you're not quite sure what that means, just pick it up and read any story. And you can see that there's somebody out there who had a worse situation than where you are, and they turned it around.
that's right. And they turned it around. They did. So don't be your own resistance. I love that message. Thank you, Sabrina, for coming today. It's been an honor. I love the conversation. We can go on and on more about this. And so this is Tina Kadish, your business coach, and from Job to Joy, the employee to entrepreneur podcast. Every week we come in and we hear great guests sharing their stories. I hope that this inspired you, and I love this. Don't be your own resistance. Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank
Until
you.
next time, everybody
Bye.
have a great day.